And I just kind of tinkered and tinkered and tinkered, and I decided, like, wouldn't it be fun if I could make a game? Nothing more than that. And I made a game, and I discovered while I was making it that you could auction these games on a website called FGL, which is still around, but you would put your game out there and people would bid on it. And it was very exciting because it was real money, and the bids would go up, and there'd be a bidding war. And
why don't I know about this? I did not do
this. You did not know
this.
about this? Oh my god!
No,
Oh.
FGL.
FGL.
I was just into Newgrounds all day.
Ah, well,
Like that's where I was launching my stuff.
well, you still launch, but this is how you found a sponsor.
Oh my goodness, I was such an idiot, dude. I'm always way behind.
But I think this must have been back in like 2011 or something like that. So it might have been like something. I can't remember when Coma was, but it might have been after
That's
Coma.
2009. But
Yeah.
the thing is, the sponsors flooded in regardless. You know, when I launched on Newgrounds, like I remember, oh, dude, it was the best feeling in the world. I got an email from, I think it was Armor Games, and they were like, in which they published Pinstripe, and they also published Adventure Battles. I think they emailed me and they're like, "We'll pay you $1,000 to do an exclusive sponsorship."
You're like,
Or like a
yes?
non, it was I think it was a non-exclusive, and I was like yes, right away, yes. And so they paid me, and I went to the pool with my friends, and I was 18, I was like, guys, I just got $1,000 for selling a game, and they thought it was like the coolest thing ever. And I think that's the moment for me when I was like, this is what I want to do, because this is what's crazy is like I was in a band, and I got the same sort of rush of being on stage playing for people.
Yeah.
When I got that check, I was like, I'm kind of a rock star. Like I'm a rock star, like I'm an indie artist, but in a different way.
Right.
Is that how you felt?
I feel like it's exactly the same thing. And like running, or not running, because obviously we're partners, but like doing the company, it feels like it's still the band. Like it's a continuation from managing the band and like trying to get shows and get things organized and having creative people who inspire you. And so, yeah, I mean, it's 100% the same thing. I see it as like a direct continuation from that.
So it was in your teenage years when you realized you wanted to be a game developer.
Wait, hang on. No, it was very early 20s, I think. Like basically where I didn't want to be a game developer when I made that first game. And then I made money out of it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to still carry on like pursuing what I'm going to do. And I didn't, like, after the band, I didn't really have a clear direction. I kind of thought, right, I did a degree in government and politics. Like maybe I could be some kind of think tank or so I was pursuing a PhD, and I got funding for that. And then I sold another game. And at that point, I deferred my place and canceled it. And I was like, right, this is me. I'm going to do this. But there was a moment when I was having dinner with Fiona, and so she has become my wife since. And she just kind of said to me, like, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do the games? And this like intense feeling of like stress came over me. And I think it was just me going, yeah, why don't I do this? I could just like, like, why? I'm such an idiot. Why didn't I think of this? Like, obviously this is what I should do.
It's crazy how that happens, dude. Like for me, so many missed opportunities, or at least opportunities that were right in front of my face. It took me like 2 years to actually pursue them. And like the fact that I missed out on this FGL thing just baffles me.
Well, I mean, to be fair to you, it was a good way to meet sponsors. So I think I did one game on that. And then after my second game, I just went directly to the sponsors and said, like, this is the game. And I think one of them said, like, put it on FGL and we'll bid it. And the other one was like, I'll just give you an offer right now. And I was like, that offer will do. Thank you very much.
Well, Jay, explain what a sponsor is for the listeners who don't know that era.
Yeah,
perhaps.
right. So the Flash gaming ecosystem was kind of full of like people who just kind of had access to a program called Flash, where they could kind of very easily make games with like and learn their craft as they went. And I think this has been so valuable to developers like me and you as well, and a lot of the people who are now making indie games. But what would happen is you'd create this game, and a company such as I'm just trying to think, Armor Games, obviously we should mention them because they are publishers for our
Newgrounds, Antcon Games,
right.
Congregate.
Sure. Those guys would then pay you a certain amount of money to put their logo at the beginning of the game. And what that meant is that your game was essentially an advertisement for their website. So it would drive traffic to their website. And because this was kind of at the very, either before mobile gaming really took off or like at the very beginning of it, people to play games would go to these websites and they would sit in, like, when they should be in IT class or whatever, like playing these little games.
I want to hear in the comments, if any of you was the student, like the high school student who would play games in the library before class started, like I did. Please let me know in the comments, because it was such a nostalgic time. Like for me, like I would get to school early, and I think you're a little bit older than me, but like I would get to school early, you know, and you'd play a flash game where like you shoot Osama bin Laden, and then you hang out in the library and read manga or something. Like that was like what every teenager did, or at least, you know, the nerdy teenagers like I was.
Right.
You'd get on addictinggames.com or tgames.com was super fun. I don't know if you ever went to T Games, but T Games was like this super, like their brand was so distinct. It wasn't like going to indie game or addictinggames.com and seeing like this plethora of like random crap. T Games was like one or two developers, and they made these skateboard games. Like you could skateboard. They also made a bicycle game where you rode a bike. Nice. It was kind of like a trials game, but they had a brand that looked very, I don't know how to describe it, but I think it was like a European company. Like they were based in like London or Scotland or something. And it looked very medieval. I don't know how to explain it, but it was just really classy looking. And their colors were always green and brown and gray. What happened though was they were like the one website where everything was consistent, and it was like a badge of honor for Flash games. Like these guys make Flash games and they're very, very good. What happened is I think they sold out just like you and I sold out in a way. You know, they were like, they got money waved in front of their face, and I think they sold to a company, and then immediately like a week later after they sold out to a company, it basically turned into a Congregate or an Addicting Games where just a bunch of games would appear on the site, just crap games. You know, the majority of Addicting games were pretty crappy. But that was like a huge high point in my life. I was in middle school at the time, actually. And just being able to play those games for free with your friends sort of sitting over your shoulders on these clunky computers was a special feeling, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And there were so many ideas as well, so many cool ideas. And it's so cool that like so many of the people who were making those things are now kind of making console stuff. Like it kind of says something that, you know, Como started its life as a Flash game. Adventure Pals started its life as a Super Adventure Pals. Never Give Up started its life as a Give Up 2 as a Flash game. And like take, for example, on the Switch, Snipperclips. That's made by Tom Van and his brother, and they were the Super Flash Brothers. And they started out in Flash games, you know, and it's really cool that this kind of gone on to be indie games kind of as we know it. And the amazing thing about it as well is you get to make a game every 2 or 3 months from start to finish, and you learn so much from that. You learn so much, and you know, I'm sure if you go back and you look at your early games, you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And we're kind of lucky to have that like learning cycle where it's like, okay, I'm making this, now I'm going to make this. Okay, well that didn't work. Next game, you know, and within a year you put out 4 or 5 games, and they'd all like, you know, you'd be learning from that, and that kind of informs the games that we make today. And I think if I was trying to start now, going from zero to console games, there'd be a huge like educational gap and experience gap.
Exactly.